Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Annalise and the Victoria's Secret fashion show has returned this year. And I for one was so very excited to watch the show, and then after I watched the show I was even more excited to tell you all of my thoughts. So as I'm sure we all know, the Victoria's Secret fashion show was cancelled in 2018, and because we all kind of know about this, I'm not going to delve into that too much. But after being cancelled for several years, the Victoria's Secret fashion show made their comeback last year in 2024, and to say that I and the general public was disappointed is probably an understatement. The show just lacked the sort of glitz and glam that it always used to have. They gave us boring wings, slicked back hair, and nepo babies walking the runway, which is just not what the Victoria's Secret fashion show was known for. And I will also never be able to personally forgive them for putting Adriana Lima, my favorite Victoria's Secret model, in a slick back. That is a crime that should be punishable with jail time. Last year's fashion show really just felt like they had spent all of their money on getting the OG models to return, and that the costumes, the stage productions, the performances were kind of lackluster due to lack of funds. So with the fashion show returning in 2025, I was a little bit nervous because I'm a Victoria's Secret girly. I absolutely love the brand and I didn't want to see them run themselves into the ground. And this year, the Victoria's Secret fashion show actually had a new creative director, Adam Selman. And in an interview, he said that his main goal for the show was to focus less on perfection and focus more on joy and showing the multitude of women. So just a little bit of background on Adam is that he is actually a designer, and he is the first ever designer to take on the creative director role at Victoria's Secret. He actually only joined the company in April of this year, and he said in his very first week, people were already asking him what he's going to do for the fashion show. But prior to joining Victoria's Secret, he's worked for Savage X Fenty, he has designed items for Lady Gaga, Beyonce, and Rihanna. He is actually the man that is behind the iconic Rihanna sheer Swarovski piece. And he even said that this outfit was on the mood board for the 2025 Victoria's Secret fashion show. So that is how I just knew we were in good hands. This man knows what he's doing and he knows how to serve looks. And before the show, he was quoted as saying that the fashion show is less about showing the ideal and more about showing women what's possible, which I absolutely love this. This is what we've been begging the fashion show to be more inclusive, but also still showing the glitz and the glam that the show is known for. So did Adam deliver on his promise to show women all that's possible, and did Victoria's Secret finally return to their glory days of the glam era? Let's discuss. So the first segment of the fashion show was called First Light, and it opened with the iconic Victoria's Secret angel Jasmine, I think Tookes is how you say her last name, who is 9 months pregnant, and her baby bump was the star of the show. She was wearing a gold macrame dress with a pearl embellishments and clam-shaped wings, invoking Botticelli's Birth of Venus. And I absolutely loved Jasmine as the opening angel because right from the bat, Adam was delivering on his promise to showcase women in all of their forms, including pregnancy. I mean, how often do you really see a pregnant woman on the runway? It is pretty rare, and especially in a lingerie runway, it is incredibly rare. But pregnant women deserve to feel sexy too. They deserve to be celebrated. I mean, they are literally creating a human life. What is more incredible than that? And this was a great way to start the show and really show that it was being a lot more inclusive and aware and showing off how incredible women can be. And I absolutely love that it was Jasmine as well, because she is a Victoria's Secret angel that has walked the runway since I believe 2012. And she actually walked in Adam Selman's first ever runway many years ago, so it was a very full circle moment for both of them as well. And granted, Jasmine isn't the first Victoria's Secret model to walk the runway whilst pregnant. Most notably in 2003, Heidi Klum walked the runway whilst pregnant with her daughter Lenny. However, she didn't tell the public at the time. It was only in 2021 when she posted this photo on Instagram and mentioned that she wasn't walking alone down that runway. Several other VS angels have walked the runway whilst pregnant, but none have ever walked whilst they are full term, like almost 9 months pregnant. I don't know why I'm forgetting what the word is. Third trimester, that's what Jasmine's in. She was the first model to walk in her third trimester. And after opening the runway with Jasmine's iconic walk, this segment included all of the OG supermodels, and they all looked incredible. And what I really loved was the message that it sent, because society is always telling us as women that like once you age, you're over. Like life is over once you turn 30. It is so important to be young and beautiful, which is such a damaging narrative. So I loved that the opening runway included models such as Candace Swampole, who is 36 years old, Adriana Lima, who is 44 years old, and Doots and Crows, who is 40 years old, strutting in lingerie looking absolutely phenomenal. And it sent a beautiful message that women are still powerful, beautiful, sexy at any age. So my personal favorite looks from this segment was, of course, Barbara Palvin. Her silhouette was just unreal, and I also really loved Candace Swampole's entire outfit. I'm a glitzy glam girl. I see anything glitzy and glam, I like it. Apart from Adriana, she's also my favorite all-time Victoria's Victoria's Secret model. So to see her back with a blowout, the wings on, she just looked incredible. And I really want to DIY that chain top. I feel like that could have a potential to be a Halloween costume that isn't too difficult to try. I don't know, we'll see. Stay tuned for my Halloween DIY video. The fashion show then moved on to Madison Beer's segment, which is actually called the bombshell segment, but honestly, Madison Beer stole the show. This segment was incredibly girly, incredibly glam, and was my personal favorite throughout the entire show. It was just like a peak Victoria's Secret energy. Madison's performance was incredible. I've never really been a fan of her, like no hate or anything, I've just never listened to her music. I have had her on repeat since the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Yes Baby is my current favorite song because she just slayed the performance so hard. She ended her performance by doing a runway walk to the song Yes Baby, and she looked incredible. Granted, she's not a model, okay, so I don't think it's fair people online are judging her walk by model standards. She wasn't trying to compete with the Victoria's Secret angels, she was just strutting down the runway as a singer, and I thought that she looked incredible. She just really embodied that old school Victoria's Secret girly, princessy, glam, and sexy vibe, and I absolutely loved it. And she's been trying to break into like the mainstream music for a while now from what I've heard, and I really think that this show will catapult her into stardom, and I hope it does because she was incredible. She deserves it. I'm very bad at pronouncing names, so please excuse me for basically this entire video, but Emily Ratajkowski, I want to say, was my favorite look in this segment. The floral inspired wings and those stunning high heels, oh my goodness, they were absolutely incredible. And it was really giving Barbie Fairytopia all grown up. And I also really loved Gigi Hadid in this section because her outfit was actually a nod to an outfit that Tyra Banks wore on the Victoria's Secret runway 25 years ago. I love all those little callbacks and Easter eggs that are sprinkled throughout the show, so they do look very similar, but of course Gigi's was dyed pink. So this segment was very much a showgirl meets bombshell. And of course Taylor Swift has recently released her album Life of a Showgirl, and reporters were asking Adam Selman if he was inspired by the album, which I knew he hadn't been because this sort of production takes so long to make happen that it would have been in production way before Taylor Swift even announced her album. And not to brag, but I was correct. Adam said that this was not at all inspired by Taylor Swift, but he says that the showgirl lifestyle is definitely having like a cultural moment because people are dressing sexier than ever, so it just fit. And I completely agree. This was my favorite fit of the evening. Well, not favorite fit, this was my favorite segment of the evening. And after the incredible Madison Beer and bombshell segment, it was followed up by the pink halftime show with Twice. And unfortunately, this one just didn't hit for me. Look, Twice's performance wasn't bad, but I haven't heard of them before. This was my very first impression, and I did think they were very good at their dance moves, their choreography, but their singing was perhaps not the best. And look, I cannot sing, but I'm also not being paid millions of dollars to do performances, so I feel like if someone gets on stage and their singing abilities are as good as mine, not very good, it's fair to judge. And the pink segments used to be my favorite because I always found them to, of course, be the most wearable. You know, in the pink section, there's always more clothes than actual lingerie. They usually showcase a lot of sportswear, and it used to be a really fun, flirty segment. But this year, I found it was giving pep rally, not Victoria's Secret runway, and not in a good way. I don't know, it just kind of like lacked the overall spark that the segment used to have. Like I saw someone saying, imagine working your ass off to be in the Victoria's Secret fashion show, and they put you in a full-on tracksuit with a fur coat, because that did happen to one of the models, Luna Johannan. And don't get me wrong, she looked absolutely beautiful, but when do we ever see a full-on tracksuit with a fur coat on the VS runway? I don't know, it just felt a little bit out of place. I understand that they are trying to showcase the pink fashion items, but it just wasn't working for me. And in this segment, there was something very new to the Victoria's Secret fashion show, and that was influencers and Olympians. So for the first time ever, the runway wasn't just models and nepo babies, even more on that later, but they also had a couple of influencers and Olympians. And when people found out, they were very upset and very mad at Victoria's Secret, but I personally don't see an issue with it. People are saying it makes the show look cheap and influencer focused, and I just don't think that's the case. The fashion show isn't like a high couture runway. It's literally described as being a fun event. Like it's entertainment with live performers. That does not happen on a high-end runway. And including influencers helps to bring in all of these new audiences, keep Gen Z engaged, and honestly, honestly, a lot of these influencers are more popular than some of the models on the runway. And to me, whenever I hear people complaining about influencers in mainstream media, it's honestly giving, oh, well, back in my day, you know what I mean? Like, oh, get off my lawn. I don't know. I feel like if you're not with the influencer times, you're just not wanting life to change. And like, unfortunately, girls, life is going to change whether you wanted to or not. And so Quinton Blackwell was one of the influencers who walked, and she is absolutely beautiful, but I just didn't understand what she was wearing. And don't get me wrong, not a diss on her. She would have had no say whatsoever. But she wore a pink bikini with a black bra and black underwear underneath it. And I was just so confused because it looked like, you know, when you go to the shops and you try on a bikini and you have to keep your underwear on, that's what it looked like. It didn't look cute. It didn't look put together. It just looked like the bikini didn't fit, and it was a last minute decision to slap on the black bra and underwear underneath the bikini. And people were also quick to point out that her wings were incredibly small and just looked kind of odd. And look, in the past, this would have made total sense for her to wear the small wings because Victoria's Secret Angel wings are traditionally earned. You start off with small ones, kind of like unique, funky ones, and then you work your way to the top to the big, feathery wings. Those are usually reserved for only the iconic OG Victoria's Secret Angels who have worked their arse off. So it makes sense, since this is her first runway, it's her debut fashion show, that she would only have the small wings. Except that this year and last year, that all went completely out the window because models that were walking their first ever runway were given angel wings, the performers were given angel wings. So I don't really know what the method to the madness is there. And yeah, the wings that Quinton was wearing just did not look good, the poor doll. Suni Lee, the Olympic gymnast, also walked in the pink segment, and similar to Quinton, she wore a bra under a bra and it just didn't look good. I understand like wanting to have some layers to give that extra dynamic and silhouette, but this just was not giving. I did love though how they put her in an athletic outfit because that was very on brand. And moving on to Carol G's set, which was called Hot Pursuit. Carol G is just an incredible performer, and all of the visuals that were happening behind her, like Angel Forever, Latina Forever, I adored. And this whole segment just like oozed sex appeal. I really love the contrast between Madison Beer's soft glam, feminine energy set and Carol G's confident, fiery sensuality. They are both a part of Victoria's Secret, what it's like to be a modern woman, what it's like to be sexy, and I just adored showcasing both of these. And this was also the segment where we saw Bella Hadid's big return as a blonde. A lot of people online didn't like Bella as a blonde, weren't a fan of her hair, but I disagree. I really liked her hair. I thought it looked incredible with her tan. I loved the warm tone blonde, and honestly, I kind of think I might show it to my hairdresser when I go back next. There was also a lot of online chatter saying that Bella looked really unwell, and I personally didn't notice that. When I was watching the show, I did not think that at all. I think I was too focused on how incredible she looked and how amazing her body is and how good her hair is. So I didn't notice that, but when I was rewatching, I could kind of see what people mean. And honestly, Bella just came out of hospital. Like, she has been unwell for a while. It is highly likely that she was not feeling her best and pushed through for the show. And apart from all of the OG models, this segment also showcased a lot of the new and upcoming models like Alex Consani, who I absolutely adore and looked incredible. And of course, it wouldn't be a VS fashion show or any sort of fashion show without a couple of Nepo babies like Amelia Gray, who, if you didn't know, is Lisa Rinna's daughter. And honestly, her walk wasn't all too bad. Look, if I was a Nepo baby, I would definitely be milking all of my parents' connections to be a VS model. Like, are you kidding? But I do have a bit of an issue when the models such as Lila Moss are walking and they have a terrible walk. I mean, it is what it is. It's a terrible walk. And they are taking spots away from hard-working models that have incredible walks, look incredible, are working really, really hard, but get looked over because their parents aren't famous. That is where I personally take issue. But unfortunately, this just seems to be the way that the entire modeling industry is. And it's really sad. And I would imagine as like a VS model, you would be quite annoyed that these Nepo babies keep getting opportunity after opportunity due to their famous parents. Because unfortunately, Amelia Gray's walk wasn't very good either. But two things can be true at the same time. I can believe that Amelia Gray's walk wasn't very good, and I can also believe that she gave us a iconic show-stopping moment that I really loved and appreciate. Because during her walk in the Hot Pursuit segment, she has walked down the runway in a beautiful red sheer dress that looked stunning on her. She looked gorgeous. And then the show-stopping moment was as she turned around and the camera panned in, and we saw that she was wearing a low cut back with her butt fully hanging out in only a G-string. This was iconic, so scandalous, so show-stopping, and this is exactly what the Victoria's Secret fashion show used to be, and I loved it. If it's something that's going to make people like clutch their pearls and be like, oh my god, I can't believe they're showing that, I am here for it. It was creative, it was sexy, it was show-stopping, so much so that I'm willing to forgive Amelia Gray for her walk because this moment was just incredible. I loved it. The next segment was called Magic Hour, and this was the segment where unfortunately there was a wardrobe malfunction from the model Devin Garcia. Look, wardrobe malfunctions are nothing new to the Victoria's Secret fashion show. I mean, shit happens, honestly. It just, you can't control it. Sometimes things go wrong, but what it's all about is how you recover. But unfortunately, with Devin's runway, she didn't recover all too well. So as Devin's walked down the runway, she has had this shawl, which I didn't love the shawl just in general. I feel like it wasn't sitting properly on her. It just looked kind of odd, but whatever. She looked gorgeous and she's done her poses, looked really cute. And then as she's walked away, the shawl has gotten stuck on her high heel. And she has obviously become very frustrated and has done a major fashion no-no, which is to just rip the garment off her heel. And I know this may sound a little bit silly, but in the fashion industry, a lot of these garments that you're seeing are incredibly expensive. They have been tailored for the model. They, you know, are one of a kind. I know that they're mass produced, but sometimes it's not even the same material that they're mass produced with. So these items need to be taken care of. And for her to just rip her garment off her high heel like that, the fashion community wasn't thrilled, okay? Because it's just not how models usually treat their garments. And you know, I do understand in that moment, the girl's probably panicking, right? She's probably like, oh my God, this is stuck. I've just got to rip it off and get it done. So I do understand in the moment, we all make snap decisions, but it just wasn't a great look. And then her walk after this wasn't all too great. You could just tell that she was really defeated, and I do feel for her. I really, truly do. Like, I understand in that moment, oh my God, I could not even imagine the panic you would be feeling and the disappointment that this is happening on the runway. But like I said, it's all about how you recover. And I just don't think she recovered all too well. You could tell how disappointed she was. The way she was holding and moving the shawl just wasn't really working for her. And I just, yeah, it just wasn't a great moment. And it was really unfortunate that it was front and center on the camera. Usually Victoria's Secret tries to edit out those moments, but because it's live, they're not editing. So that was a poor choice of words. They try to like film around it. Like if a cameraman sees something like that happening, they usually pan away, but in this scenario, they didn't. I don't know why, but they just kept it front and center. Maybe to help keep it more real and show like, oh, look, this is a real woman having a real struggle. Who knows? And before we knew it, we were on to the final segment of the evening, the black tie. Now, this was a classic Victoria's Secret moment with powerful walks, beautiful lingerie, and dramatic angel wings. Alessandra Ambrosio had the incredible show-stopping wings. She looked amazing. Like, she's an OG Victoria's Secret angel and she looked incredible. And I really loved that after she walked, Adriana Lima followed her again in these beautiful, like almost tinsel angel wings. So show-stopping, so dramatic. But I love that they went one after the other because these angels are both iconic in the Victoria's Secret fashion history, because a couple of years ago, well, 2014, so quite a while ago, they actually were the first angels to both wear a fantasy bra together down the runway. So it was just iconic to see them back together walking down the runway. And speaking of, sadly, there was no fantasy bra this year. I really wish there was. A fantasy bra was such an iconic Victoria's Secret moment. It literally like was held under such tight wraps. Basically, only the model and certain stage production staff would know who was wearing the bra that year. They would have security personnel and everything. But yeah, unfortunately, it did not make a comeback, which I understand. Victoria's Secret is trying to show a more inclusive image and be, you know, better presented towards the public. So in an economic and cost of living crisis, probs doesn't look good to pull out like a $5 to $10 million bra, but is it bad that I kind of missed it? I don't know. I kind of love all of that crazy stuff, so I definitely missed it. Oh my God, I also loved the 4 Victoria's Secret angels walking in the t-shirts that were all cut in different ways. I immediately ran to the website to try and buy these items, but they're still not available on the Victoria's Secret Australia site. You can't buy any of the items from the show. And I messaged Victoria's Secret Australia and they gaslit me into saying they had all been sold out. And I was like, babes, I'm literally a shopaholic. I have been on your website every single day. You did not post the item. But anyway, back to the models. Barbara Palvin looked incredible. Oh my God, her top was one of my favorite in this entire show because it was angel wings but reverse, and I thought this was an incredibly inspiring and creative way to wear angel wings. And then to close out the show, we had the Hadid sisters, which is iconic because they have really come up the ranks, starting out as like baby models on the runway, baby VS angels, and then working their way up to being like an iconic angel of the show. Gigi Hadid's look, I did not understand. Now, Gigi Hadid can never look bad. She's incredible, beautiful, but the wings, I'm not a fan of the pillow wings. Even when Alex Consani wore them last year, didn't like them. And then this year on Gigi, I don't understand why they put them in front of her arms so that you couldn't see her arms. The silhouette wasn't giving angel, it was giving more like Halloween costume. I don't know, it was just an odd choice. She still looked incredible, but yeah, odd choice. And then Bella Hadid closed out the show. Again, wearing the wings similar to her sister's first look of the show that were inspired by Tyra Banks' look 25 years ago. This was the moment where people were saying Bella Hadid looked to be really struggling, and I actually did notice because several times she was grabbing onto the wings, which is like a huge no-no. You really don't normally do that in the fashion show. Like, the angels try to make it look good, you know? They try and be like, oh my god, yeah, I have 23 kilos on my back. You can't even tell. It's so easy. But Bella did look to be struggling, and look, if she's been sick, it makes total sense. Either way, she looked absolutely incredible and was the perfect model to close out the show. I thought she was gorgeous. And of course, oh my god, Missy Elliott segment, incredible, amazing, loved it, such a hype up. It was good. And so overall, I think the Victoria's Secret fashion show really delivered this year, and we are so back. I mean, I think the show is always going to be controversial. There are always going to be people that think the show should have never returned, and I can completely understand that opinion. Like, the show was incredibly problematic. I can see why some people think it still is problematic, so I can understand that opinion, but I don't agree with it. I am very happy that the show is back. I'm glad it's inclusive. I'm glad that it was show-stopping and just an iconic moment. And I feel like for the first time, the show finally struck the balance between glamour and inclusivity, and it just really hit the nail on the head. So I loved the fashion show. I am already counting down to the 2026 fashion show. Only like 364 days away. So thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel because I upload new videos every single week. Well, that's not true. I try to upload every single week. And if I am not posting on here, then I am on Instagram and TikTok. I will have my link on the screen right now and also linked down below. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Mwah.